For episode 9 of season 2 of the Belfry Offense book, I wanted to talk about on page 145. I start talking about the highway. Now, the highway is basically an area of the ice that stretches from the net in the offensive zone up to the top of the circles. So it's just like uh, basically that it's a highway. Now the thing about it is the connection that I make with it, and the reason why I call it the highway is because you have the net front forward and you have that F3, and I think that those two positions have some real interchange to it, and there's some tactical interchange opportunities to it that can be really interesting. So what I mean by that is that the guy at the net could come up to the high ice, and the guy who's in the F3 would come down on the net. Is one way to utilize the highway and a way to think about it. And so the reason why I call it the highway is because it's two-way traffic, people coming up and down. Now, when I first started studying the net front guy, what was basically the job of the net front guy was to get to the net, jostle for position, take away the eyes of the goalie, hope that the puck hits you, be there for rebounds, tips, deflections, etc. That's what the primary job of one, and trying to resist being boxed out, try to get there early, and then just stay there, create like a lot of havoc, kind of tie up a D there. But that to me now has changed, and the role and the responsibilities of the net front guy has now dramatically expanded. So the net front guy used to also be in front of the D, like you were trying to push the D back or push or get beside him and like have like an offensive box out, and it was more of that. Then defensive forwards would kind of try to get in front of him and would front that forward and try to like shot block and get the puck going the other way, so that it wouldn't be a tip, deflection, rebound, and the net front defenseman was not getting tied up with that forward. So a lot has really changed and evolved, I think, over the years when the role of that player, the guy at the net, and the guy at the net also now, he started to be responsible for a lot of rim downs. So the puck would get to the point, because the shot blockers are now much more sophisticated in terms of their consistency of getting into shot lanes. It's much harder to get pucks through. You would see the guys at the point just kind of get the puck at the point, maybe go up and over, see if there's a lane to get the puck into. If there isn't, they send it down to the bottom. So they like rim it down to the bottom, and the guy at the net would then go get the puck. So there's a whole bunch of skills that go with that, like being able to box out the defenseman, not inviting the defenseman into the back wall where he can just push you in and create a stop, that you can actually skate onto the puck and be able to take the back of the net or come back towards the corner, depending on what the weight of the puck and the situation. But being able to time going to the back wall and learning how to preserve that space, and being mindful of your turning radius, where your skates are, so that when you turn, you're not getting pushed in, or that your skates aren't too close to the wall where you have to stop your feet, and then now you're easier to control. So that whole back wall and being able to have the net guy be a change of side player became a big thing, and there's a whole set of skills that surround that. He's got to be underneath the D, because you're looking to essentially offensively box out that defenseman, so you have exclusive access to the puck as it rims around. So that's that. Then you have tracking, obviously, is so important, because the better you track, the less you have to back check, and the more time you're going to get on the offensive side of the ice. So it might not be the offensive zone exclusively, but for sure you're going to be able to win pucks back and transition them in the neutral zone and come right back in the offensive zone. So the priority is to get the puck, keep the puck, and if we don't have it, we're trying to get it back as quickly as possible. Well, now your guy at the net like his job is really important to be able to win pucks back. We call it the F2 track, so being able to come in and provide that pressure from underneath. So if you prioritize that the net front forward is underneath the defenseman, that they are truly on the most offensive side of the puck that anyone could be at. Everyone else is above you. You are the last guy, and you are underneath the D. So you need to sprint to get back above your check and to track to help contribute, with getting the puck back. So the F2 track has become a major focus as well. So when you really look at it, when before the net front guy was, get to the net, jostle for position early, take away the eyes of the goalie, create all kinds of havoc. Maybe push the defenseman back in on the goalie a little bit so you can reduce the amount of space that the goalie has to be able to move. All of that. It went from that to now. Not only do you have to get to the net, you got to get there at the right time. You got to get in the proper distance between you and the net. Then you have to front and box out the offensive box out on the defenseman. You're also responsible for rims that come around. You got to pick those up because we need you to use that to change sides. Like, you got a lot more responsibilities. And now I'm talking about, we also might need you in some pop out situations. So where you're at the net, now you're going to pop out into a seam, into a low seam, into maybe going to the high ice where you utilize the highway that I briefly described. You might even be responsible for release and replace. So release and replace would be the guy at the net releases off the net, goes to the weak side dot, and the guy that was the high forward comes down on the net. He gets replaced at the net. So he's going to the dot to be more of an option over there for either weak side play for a shot off the pass or change of sides. That he releases to change sides to alleviate the defensive pressure, open the ice up. So this guy at the net now has become really a lot more sophisticated in his utility, and therefore a lot of the skill sets that forward now needs. So it's not just getting to the net. And then the other part is, when you do get to the net, it's not getting to the net and then, jostling for position. It's trying to arrive at the right time, because we can't have you just standing at the net. You have other responsibilities in the zone. We might need you because we want to keep this thing moving. We don't want to be standing still. So the more fluidity we have in the offensive zone, the better. But we still need somebody at the net, but it can't be the same guy. It's constantly rotating. So you see, there's a lot more to it. You don't just get a guy at the net and then that's it. He's rotating off the net. New guys coming down on the net, and you're trying to make it like a bit of a shell game at the net for the net front defender. Like, I'm defending you. You arrive at the net. I'm trying to get body position on you. I'm trying to get a box out. Now you leave, and then the new guy's coming from a completely different angle. Now I'm trying to get a box out on that guy, because you've got to remember, the best box out is occurring away from the net. So I don't want to box out necessarily when you arrive at the net. Like, now I'm chasing the body position. What I'd really like to do is, when you're in the corner and you're trying to come to the net, I want to box you out while you're still in the corner. Or if you're, if you rotate it up and now you're coming downhill on the net, well, I'm going to pick you up at the hash marks and box you out from the hash marks down or above the hash marks down. Because the earlier I can box you out, the less likely you're going to get to the net with good timing, and then that's going to improve our ability to maintain both vision for the goalie, plus it's going to improve our recovery rate, because now you don't have a guy at the net. So we have all of that. Plus, you have nobody there screening the goalie. You don't have anybody there working off the heels of the goalie. You don't have all these threats. And one of the other concepts I talk about in the book is about how to expand the net. And the net front guy can do a lot to expand the net. So what I mean by that is, if you have a shooter and it's an on-stick shooter, so in other words, they're skating with the puck and then they're going to shoot. Goalie's lined up to that shooter. You can expand the net by having the net front guy fall off the heels of the goalie on the weak side. So now what happens is that the goalie has not only the shot to contend with, but a pass redirect off the backside that is now problematic, which makes the net much bigger. And that's a big problem. So what you're trying to do is expand the net and use the net front guy. So again, the other thing too is on stick shooters don't usually love a screen. And the reason why I don't love a screen is because an on-stick shooter is shooting from anywhere between 15 to 18, maybe 20 feet out. Okay. They usually have a crazy good release. They can change the angle of the puck. They can do a lot of different things and they are extremely dynamic when they shoot. The distance between them and the goalie and where the net is such that it's very difficult for the goalie to be able to catch up. The reaction time is just a lot. So the goalie is trying to get centered on the puck. They're trying to get square. The defending, like the defenseman is also in the shot lane, et cetera, et cetera. Now the on-stick shooter's coming down. They're looking to change the angle in some way to get you off center, and then they're counting on the distance and the velocity, the distance that the puck is going to be shot from, and the velocity that they're going to be able to shoot the puck from in terms of its release speed and the velocity of the puck is going to be hard for the goalie to react in that distance and proximity of time. And if they can get it off the pass, it's even more difficult. So all that being said, this net front guy, he's got a lot of responsibilities because he is no longer just responsible for screening the goalie, because if he screens a goalie, he's going to draw a second defender, and then now you have goalie, defenseman, net front guy. So three guys, all of which are anywhere between 175, anywhere between 5'10" to 6'6", anywhere from 180 pounds to 240 pounds, say, and they're all at the net. Well, the net's only 6 feet wide, so like, where's the net to shoot at? So I have an on-stick shooter who's really good at being able to create these shots, and they can trust that the shot distance is such that it's difficult for goalie to react if they change the angle as quickly as they want to do it, and the goalie's going to have a hard time staying square. And now the defenseman, the net front guy, because he's drawn a defenseman and you have the goalie, has actively closed off a lot of the net to shoot at. So an on-stick, really good on-stick shooter doesn't love to have a net front guy. What they want the net front guy to do is expand the net, fall off the heels. They'd like to do an offensive box out so that now the goalie is the goalie's restricted in some way, but the sight line is not as important. The more distance that you are away from the net, the more that the sight line is important. The closer you are to the net, the less sight line is important. We don't care if the goalie has clear sight at once you get into 15, 18 feet from the net, because the on-stick shooter is counting on the release speed and the velocity of the puck to be more of the advantage, and being able to change, have the line get changed on the goalie. So now you're expanding the net. So it's all of that, right? So the net front guy is now like critically important. Then you also flip that to the F3 guy. So F3 is now, playing in seams. They're, trying to get pucks off the pass. They're trying to shoot off the pass, and it's the same idea. It's, get the goalie. You got to play on the back wall. The goalie's tucked to his post. The puck comes up to F3. F3 shooting it on touch. And again, because of the distance of the shot and the fact that the goalie has to move, they're not square. And you have the velocity of the puck. The puck is in a natural angle change because it's now off the pass. You're expanding the difficulty in the save for the goalie. So all those are factors. Now, if you get any kind of movement there, you can what movement does is, one, it makes it, it opens up the options. So as F3 is coming down on the net, he's also available for passes. He can fall off the net. He can get a high tip as he's coming in. The puck can go low. He can pick a different spot to attack. He can go on the backside, the front side. There's all of that. And meanwhile, the net front guy who was there, he leaves. So the new guy coming on the net, his stick's not tied up. He's not boxed out as of yet. So there's moments where he's free in a very dangerous area of the ice. So it's very attractive to be able to have some interchange. So the goal of the net front guy is to have a net front guy, but not the same guy. It's continually rotating, and the guys coming from different angles, coming from below the goal line, above, coming from below the goal line, underneath the D, getting into the net front. Then he pops out to the top of the circle as his F3. The F3 guy is coming down on the net. I mean, it's all of that. It's all very different. Coming from different angles makes it much more difficult to box out and to really control sticks and all of that. Plus, you got people who are moving. They're inherently more dangerous. So you got a lot going on here as it relates to the highway. So the more active the highway is, and I'm just saying the net front guy and his ability to be able to move from that position, whether it's release and replace, F3 coming down. He could be an F3 change of side, so when the puck gets rimmed around, your net front guy might just hold that position and then rotate up to the top. F3 might come down on the backside, pick up the rim retrieval on the other side of the net, skate onto the touch, and now you got speed as you change sides. So that F3 and the use of the highway and their interaction with the net front guy, I think is really important. And one of the things that that you hear a lot of discussion is working the net front player and making sure their skills are there between tips and fighting through box outs and getting good body position, learning how to get underneath the goalie. So one of the other things is when if a puck is getting shot from the point, you're the net front guy. You've arrived. You got an offensive zone. Box out is to turn with the puck as it's being shot. So as it's being shot, you're turning. So now when the puck arrives on the goalie, you've turned and you're right on top of the goalie with a stick free, ready to be able to play any rebounds or jump to the next puck. If it rebounds off the goalie and goes below the goal line, you can get there first because we need to get first touch, because we want to keep the offense going. So much involved with the interaction between that net front guy and F3. That's why I call it the highway, to draw attention to that this is an area of the ice that needs a lot more in terms of the syncing of the responsibilities of those two players and how those two players work together to create those chances. And opportunities, whether it's scoring chances, opportunities to continue with puck possession, opportunities to work together for exit kill, to be able to get the puck back. They have so many things that we have to work together, and I don't think it's often worked together. When you see a lot of guys taking point shots, you see a lot of F3 shooting and F3 play. You don't always see the interaction between those two players rotating, constantly moving, and doing it with purpose, moving with purpose, reading off of each other, all of that stuff. To me, it's an underdeveloped area of hockey that when we talk about scoring, that's a massive area of opportunity because those two guys are also inherently in the interior. So you have two guys on the interior that if they learn to work together and interact between the two guys, it's going to make a massive difference in scoring. And so to me, it makes sense to create development opportunities for that. But before we get development opportunities, you've got to understand the areas of the ice, understand that there is a real interaction between those two guys. And then from there, you pick all the skills that we're talking about that they need to have. And then from there, then get some gameplay ideas of how they can work off of each other, what situations, where each guy should be. Like, when do you release and replace? Like, when does that actually make sense? When does it make sense for F3 to come down? When does it make sense to be underneath the D? Sometimes it's not advantageous to be underneath the D. When does the forward actually arrive? All of those elements. Do your D know how to land on the net? You see so many D activating off the offensive blue line, but they don't go anywhere near the net. Sometimes they need to land at the net. Are they familiar with a flash screen, offensive zone box out, working as an F2 to track? Are they familiar with those things? Because if you're truly going to have active D in the offensive zone, well, I need to know those skills. So this is what I mean about the development process. Like, it's pretty intense. There's a lot of work to do. Like, I can think of a million different scenarios and situations in which I would love to work just those two players, and the drills and skills and tactics and interaction and timing and situational understanding. There's just a lot that you can do with the understanding of what that actually is. So to me, it's a really important area of the ice. That's why I included it in the book and tried to illustrate just how dynamic that area of the ice is, so that going forward, we are including the highway and its interaction in our development of our offensive zone play, and that all players on the ice understand the roles and responsibilities and how the highway works. How many times you have an offensive defenseman activating off the backside coming down onto the net? Well, he's essentially in the highway. So, and as the weak side defender or weak side defense is coming down on the backside, the net front guy is popping out on the front side. So there's a time in which those roles change. The net front guy has become high, and the guy who is the weak side D is now low and closest to the net. Understanding the timing of when that is going to impact the passing options for the puck carrier as to when and who they should pass the puck to. And then the weak side defenseman, when you come down on the net, like, do you stop at the net? Or do you peel off and come back up high? And if you do peel off, do you go towards the corner, or do you go inside and come back up through the middle of the ice? And what situations do you do what? Like, there's a lot of great opportunities to get into some really cool teaching things. But the first thing is to really understand and acknowledge how important that those two pieces are to your offensive zone. And they're both great because they're on the interior. And then if you add the weak side D, so if you have a guy at the net, you have a third man high, and then you have the weak side defenseman. No matter where the puck is in the offensive zone, I have three people on the inside. Interior. So, that's interesting, right? And so all three of those pieces have to understand their interactions between each other and when they should do what and what the tactics are and the skills that are involved and how they can employ competitive advantage to be able to generate more scoring chances. So I thought it was a great topic to dig into, get a little bit more, peel back a little bit more of the layers. I go into it a little bit more extensively than some of the other topics that we've talked about, but I thought it was important to also include in a podcast. So hope you enjoyed it, and you can start, maybe start thinking about how you can incorporate those two things much more into if you're a coach, into your practice, if you're a player, how maybe some communication with the net front, you're the F3, and then communicating with the net front guy, or you're going to be the net front guy. What's your timing? What's your spacing? Where are you what are you trying to do? And thinking about being in the position that's going to maximize your opportunity. I think there's a lot of layers to it, and I think a lot of it we haven't really dug into yet. And I think that this is something that we should really be, if we really truly want to score more in the offensive zone, this to me is a great area to start.